Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Empower Hour. I'm Laurie Baracco, owner and intuitive practitioner here at the Mystical Moon, where there are two Mystical Moons, one in Fort Myers and one in Bonita Springs, Florida. And it's so good to see so many of you here in the online community. Good morning, everyone, as well as all those who are tuning in on the YouTube page. So good to see all of you. And if you are watching through the YouTube page, just know that you will not be able to ask questions through the chat. I've disabled the chat because that is a lot of technical stuff to go back and forth with the different streams or avenues, the live streaming avenues. But in the online community, you're more than welcome to chat, type in your insight, you share your experiences and ask questions in the mysticalmoon.ning.com. And as you see that I'm solo here, Jody has been pretty busy. It's the end of the year with the kids for school year, and she's going to be spending a lot of time with them doing different events and so on and so forth. Another thing that I did want to mention is that I might be changing the time of the Empower Hour. I might move it to later on in the daytime, possibly at night about 7 o'clock, and I will keep everybody posted. The reason being is that as the owner of two businesses, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the morning behind the scenes, whether it's a super busy day, we have a large order that came in, someone's not feeling well, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot that happens beforehand, and rather than cancel or cut short the session, as I will need to do today, by quarter to 10 this morning, I think that that's a better flow for all of us, so that I can be centered, and more people might be able to join in live a little bit later on in the day. Okay, so it's so good to see everybody here, and again, good morning to all those who are in the online community. I would like to just share a few thoughts with this upcoming week and everything that's been popping up. So Ray Setti, our local, our special guest astrologer, he just finished up his last sessions yesterday here at the Mystical Moon, and Ray will be back in November. We have been talking about possibly bringing him in a third time during the year, because we turned so many people away for private in-person sessions. Ray is available through phone sessions, phone consultations. However, many people prefer to be sitting across from their practitioner. And to be honest, there is no difference energetically, psychically, with the information, whether you're across from someone or it's over the phone or Skype. It's all energy, it's all psychic information, non-physical information that does come through the streams of energy intuition. So whether you're here or not, it's all the same. Actually, for some people, they prefer phone consultations, even practitioners, because you're able to maybe stay in the zone. Because sometimes, to be quite frankly honest, sometimes when someone's sitting across from you and they have that poker face going, you're not always sure if you're hitting all of the marks and on target. So your practitioner may say, does this make sense? Do you understand? Because as I've shared with you before, within the first 5 minutes of a private session, you should know whether you're connecting or not, as a practitioner as well as a client, okay? So I will invite you also to watch Ray's video, the May astrological and spiritual forecast insights that he has recorded here in the Mystical Moon online YouTube page as well. It's a little bit shorter, he had mentioned. I think it's maybe 15 minutes instead of 20. He said there's not as much happening astrologically as previously in April. So what we should see is kind of like a settling down of things. Oh no, this week's been kind of a little busy for me. I don't know about all of you, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It would be nice to have Mercury not be retrograde anymore. I mean, that's always a blessing. My electronics, thank you, Mercury. And so let's see what else we have upcoming this week. Tomorrow night in Fort Myers, Joanne and I will be hosting the Diksha Blessing, which is a crystal bowl meditation, and there's a guided, Joanna guides you through the meditation, and then has the Diksha Blessing, the transfusion of light into the crown, and that's Thursday night at the Fort Myers store. Friday night here in the Bonita store, Pam has her Reiki circle, her monthly Reiki circle, and this month she's focusing on the throat chakra. It's all about communication and expression and expressing yourselves. And you know, sometimes people feel, well, maybe, you know, I need to express myself. It's very possible you're expressing yourself too much as well. So that would mean that energy center could use a little bit of attention, a little bit of love, and settling down a little bit. So do be mindful that there are two different things that could be going on. It could be underactive, the chakras, and they may be overactive as well. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, I'm going to be going crystal shopping this Friday, and I'm going on a big crystal shopping trip. And so those crystals will be on the shelves. My goal is to have them on the shelves in both locations by Saturday afternoon. So I'm going to get everything that, I mean, we're a little bit low right now. Usually we have tons of them, and just the crystals have been, you know, they're the #1 seller at the store. So they've been flying off the shelves in a good way. And it's time to replenish them, and I'm really going to replenish them. So hopefully you're able to stop by this weekend, because they go fast. That's the thing, is that whenever I go shopping with my husband, he says, get extra, get extra. And I say, I don't know, we already have so much. And then what do you know, these things, these unique crystals that you don't always, that are not always available, they sell like that, like hotcakes. And so I'm going to try to make sure I extra stock the stores. If you're not in the area, you can always go to the online store, themysticalmoonstore.com, and we have some tumbled crystals there as well. Let's see what else we have going. All right, so I think that's kind of it, as well as our usual private sessions available at both stores. And again, the online scheduling system is the bomb, if I do say so myself. It is much more user-friendly than the one we've had before. All right, so moving forward. Okay, so also I've noticed, I do have some notes about things changing for people these days, myself as well and included. So with all that's going on, and this has to do with relationships, personal relationships with others. What's most important is that during these times when you feel like, oh, things are getting shook up a little bit, it's so important to try to center yourself and ground yourself so you can focus. When you are grounded, it helps you become more present for all of the things that are transpiring in the moment, so that you're not all over the place. Usually what happens is something may trigger you, and then you're all up in here in your head, and you're rambling, and you're not able to be present and kind of sort through what's happening in that moment. So that's where the grounding is so important. It means that I've anchored myself in this moment. I'm present. I'm able to rationalize what's happening and sort through my emotions and my triggers, and I'm able to kind of sail through it smoothly rather than have a moment of freaking out, overwhelmed, and not able to grasp what's really happening. And that is an art, right? So we all have different triggers that kind of get us there, like, oh my gosh, this totally took me out of my body, and I'm overwhelmed, and I'm stressed out, and so on and so forth. To calm yourself, to ground yourself, maybe even grab some grounding stones to help you be present in the moment. That may help you through all that's going on in the moment. Let's see what else I have. As I mentioned, there are there have been quite a few changes within relationship dynamics. As I mentioned, I'm included as well, but I do see a lot of what's happening as people come through the door with their questions and their emails and in the sessions. There are a lot of relationship dynamics that are shifting these days. And if you haven't checked out this week's predictions that I have here with my prediction for this week, I invite you to do so, because it does have to do with relationships and listening to respond rather than listening to what the person's really saying. So, with these changes with relationships, this is not always a negative thing. It could be quite a positive influence as well. Keep trusting and making your decisions based on how you feel, not based upon outside events. That you may allow yourself to get triggered into making split decisions. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so uncomfortable. I need to change it and shift it. That is not being present, right? If you're up here in that mindset, in the mind, stuck in that hamster wheel. Also, when you are becoming triggered, it's important for you to take responsibility for that and say, okay, you know what? I kind of, became overwhelmed, and maybe I was a little bit dramatic and kind of like all stuck in my emotions. Let me take responsibility for that, for not being able to think things through and totally listen to you. Okay. And also taking responsibility for why you're in the situation that you're in. Not always easy, right? It's like, shoot. Sometimes it's easy to say, well, I did that because they did this, or they didn't do that. Bring it back to center. And when we bring it back to center, our lives, our choices, our decisions, when you bring that back to center, you're more in control of your life. You have the realization you're more in control, because you're always at the helm. You're always driving this bus. And whether you take responsibility for driving that bus or not, that's where that empowerment comes in, when you say, you know what, I am in control of what happens. That's taking control back. Let me sort through what's going on here. So just be mindful that I have of these things that are popping up these days. As I mentioned, I'm seeing it all across the board here at the center and private sessions and so on and so forth, on a personal level, through myself, as well as with others whom I am associated with in my own life. And back to the online community, good morning. So good to see all of you here. So moving forward to today's topic, which has to do with creating sacred space when working with others, and also this also has to do with when working with yourself. And it also relates to when you're receiving a session. These are some things to kind of take into consideration as the receiver, the recipient of a private session, whether it's a healing session or going to a meditation class or a workshop. These are things to kind of see or take note of, or to kind of reflect upon for yourself, whether you're the one holding the session or the workshop or the recipient or the participant. All right. So when working with others, it's so important to not only create a healthy inner sanctuary, but also an outer sanctuary as well. So one of my favorite things to do, though, is to receive a personal session, a private session, whether it's Reiki, cranial sacral session, massage. I do frequent the places where I feel really great. So I do return to the places and practitioners that I feel comfortable and secure energetically in their presence, as well as their environment. So what's going on with the person, as well as the ambiance and the environment where I am there to receive light, blessings, healing, guidance, all of those different things. So as I mentioned, this is not just for the practitioners, but is also for those who receive. So you can use this information and apply it to many different areas. So even if it doesn't have to do with metaphysics, say if you're a teacher, or say you're someone who trains people at the job, or works with clients where they come into your office, say it's real estate. These are some things for you can apply and kind of bring them into your own practice. So when I hold a class, meditation, a psychic development class, a private session. Also, I take my time setting up. You will not find me, it's very rare you find me kind of just scooting in at the last minute and here you go, let's get started. Very, very, very rarely do you see me doing that. I take my time preparing the space, preparing myself as well. Setting the mood beforehand is so important, and I really can't stress that enough. So this is also something for you to be mindful of as a recipient. Is the facilitator just scooting in the door for your class? You know, and things pop up. I will say that there are sometimes some things that happen. Sometimes you'll see me come in here, right, once in a while with the Empower Hour where, okay, we got to get this going. And that's not the best case scenario. And that's why I am moving it to a different time. But I do believe it is so important to set the foundation energetically and physically for the group, for those who are gathered there. So when hosting, you are holding the vibration and energy for the space. This is why I take my time in setting up. I know that people will retain the information more easily if the environment is prepped ahead of time. This is not to control others, like you are going to hear what I say and follow with what I do. And you're going to pay attention to these instructions and so on and so forth. This is not what that's about. But it is to set up an energetic foundation for the space that supports the group. And that is something that I have had such really fantastic feedback from those who have taken my classes, is because they say, you know what, I just got so much out of this. And the information, like it's just really, really clicking. Well, beforehand, I set the space. I asked Spirit to help me and to help me with the guidance, with the information that whatever comes through is for the highest and best good of all, and that they receive the information in the manner that Spirit knows is for their highest and best good. And so I do that beforehand. And then when the group comes in, I do set another intention with them there so that they're like, okay, yeah, that's right. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to get the most out of my experience here. So it does set the tone. It does change the frequency. So when I'm setting the space, with my intention, I'm creating this wonderful bubble of energy. And it's like you kind of are walking into my auric field, because I have expanded my auric field in a healthy way, right? Healthy way. And I have welcomed in the light, and I've asked that there not be too many distractions, and that people are able to receive the information, not just from the words that I speak, but from the energy, the vibration, as well as the esoteric information coming through, and from their guides and source and so on and so forth. So it all kind of comes together in this lovely vortex that supports the group. Okay. As I mentioned, it's not to control others either. So if that's what someone is trying to do, then guess what? That is going to kind of boomerang back at them in a way that's not healthy. Okay. All right. Slipping back here. Sometimes I do go back in the middle to try to make sure that we don't have someone that is wanting to sign up to join us here. I have to click that. Anyway, so I'm going to talk a little bit about inner and or outer hygiene. And for those who are in the online community, please feel free to type in any questions or comments that you have in regards to the topic. So inner and outer hygiene, make sure to get plenty of rest and take your time getting ready. When we rush, it sets the mood to be off balance, as I mentioned before. I try to get a good night's sleep. If I know that I have appointments the next day and or a session, I try to do my best to rest my mind, my body, my spirit. And also, I try to make sure that I have all of the materials ahead of time, right? So if there are handouts, if it's my outline, I make sure that I have it all prepared there. So I also try to make sure I do make sure that my environment is cleared, organized, and will sage beforehand to keep the vibe high. There are also wonderful sprays out there to help cleanse and set sacred space with sprays, oils, such as orange. Orange brings in a joyful and playful ambiance. It's kind of like that light-hearted, really feel-good, fun type of vibration. Lavender takes the vibe down a notch or two, kind of like relaxes people. So lavender would be great for like a meditation. Orange would be good for, say, like a creative type of workshop. Say you're making fairy wands or fairy wands, like that would be really good for that. Let me see what else. Fairy wands, maybe even, I don't know, maybe even a vision board. I would maybe spritz the area with a little bit of orange. And lavender is great for relaxation, like meditation, to get people to kind of settle in and relax. Peppermint helps with focus and grounding. So say there is, I don't know, a real estate workshop or something where you really need to focus and to pay attention on the information that's coming through. Not that you don't need to pay attention to any information, but sometimes we need a little bit more focus. So say I'm teaching a psychic development class and we've already had quite a few exercises like meditation exercises and maybe some telepathy exercises. I might spray a little bit of peppermint to bring everybody back. Bring them back, grounded, centered, and we're back. And I'm able to focus on the information in regards, say, to things that I need to share with my words. Okay. Lemon. Lemon helps with that squeaky clean feel. So say if you aren't a fan of sage, you could definitely go around with the lemon and that will help cleanse the area, bring the vibe high, and it makes it feel squeaky clean. You can use two together, right? So you can even try using lemon and say sage. And that leads me into sage. Sage will cleanse the environment from negativity and stress. Frankincense is going to raise the vibration and open up your intuitive senses. So that's going to open up that third eye and that connection to spirit. And I definitely encourage you to play with different ones. See which ones you favor, you're most comfortable with, and just kind of mix up a little bit for yourself. And these are just a few little suggestions. So you can do this in a workshop as well as in your private session too, right? There's so many different things you could do with oils, right? And sprays, and you can, have a diffuser going as well. Of course, you don't want to overdo it with the scent, with the aroma. And sometimes it's best to check with clients to make sure that they don't have a fragrance sensitivity. There are people who really do have those sensitivities with their sinuses, and it can give them a headache. So you want to make sure of that. It does happen once in a while. Somebody comes through the door and says, okay, this smells here a little bit too much. I'm not able to shop here. I'm sorry. And it's because they have that sensitivity. And it's all good. It's okay. No worries. But especially if you're working with a group or one-on-one or anybody, just make sure that they do know ahead of time that, hey, I may use some aromatherapy. And that goes with lighting incense. So I have my incense holder back here, and or sage. Some people have allergies and bronchitis and asthma, and so you want to make sure you're careful with that as well. If you're working, say, with Reiki or massage, you want to make sure you change sheets and blankets and have all of those goodies nearby to keep it cleansed and clear, and do this frequently, obviously. I mean, that is kind of like a given, I would hope. Here are some more suggestions for keeping this space clean and clear, making it sacred. You can fill a bowl of water with little sea salt in it to absorb the energy. You can also add 2 tea lights to bring in the element of spirit. So sometimes with healings, I might have a bowl of water in a glass bowl. I put just a little bit of sea salt in there, and I might put 2 tea lights in there to help kind of keep that cleansing and that energy going. And then I'll take that water and I will dump it outside and give it back to Mother Earth. I'm going to replenish it. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you for the healing. And that water absorbs whatever was released, and then out it goes. You can, let's see what else I have here. Soft music. I love, I don't know if I'm saying his name right or wrong, Deuter, D-E-U-T-E-R, and my favorite is Garden of the Gods. So if you are facilitating a healing session, it's really good to have, and massage session, it's really important to try not to have words with that soft music playing, because that can distract the person who's trying to receive the healing. Crystals by the door, such as black tourmaline, selenite, black obsidian, do help kind of filter energy. It's like, leave your stuff at the door. You're here for healing. Let's check it at the door. And those crystals do help absorb that. I mean, everybody has something, to be honest. Everybody's got something somewhere. So that does help kind of cleanse the environment before, like screen it beforehand. You can even put those in the four corners of a room. Pyrite, black tourmaline, just put them in the four corners. And you can even put like crystals under the bed, like a different combination with intention, and charge them up. Just make sure when you're using crystals in that way that you are cleansing them every once in a while with either sage or a crystal mixture, crystal cleansing mixture, to help keep them really nice. Nice cleanse energetically and physically. Let's see what else I have. Soft lighting. I want to make sure that the lights aren't too bright, and then I have a little bit of an ambiance going here. Not so low with some sessions that you can't see your client across from you, but I would make sure that the lighting it feels good. It's not overpowering. You want a little bit of that mystical feel to it. Sometimes fountains add a really lovely ambiance to the environment. That water flowing is a nice sound. I try to keep pen and paper also in the room, in the environment, so people could jot down their notes. Also, to keep it sacred is you want try to have as minimal noise as possible, so that's not so much of a distraction. If you know that where you're planning to host your class or your session, it's noisy, then you probably would be better off trying to go somewhere else and find another alternative for you. Okay. And again, I'm going to reiterate what I had spoke of earlier, that this is also for those who are receiving the healing. Your practitioner may be wonderful, but if there's so much noise and you're distracted, then that's something to consider. And you know what I would do? I would say something to the practitioner that I really do love the energy work you do. However, I'm not totally able to enjoy the session and the benefits of the session because of the distractions. And I would bring that up. And this is something that a lot of people really, they are being so polite in their session. However, I know that sessions cost a lot of money. It's an investment. And if you are not able to relax, or the practitioner is not being professional, or you're uncomfortable, you have every right to speak up and to say something. It's important that you give feedback. Absolutely. I welcome feedback all the time. The good feedback and the negative feedback, because that's how we can grow. And often, as an owner, I don't know unless somebody tells me. I don't know how wonderful your session is if you don't tell me once in a while. And I know with our new online scheduling system, we do have, it sends a feedback link every once in a while. Hey, how was your experience? And so that's how we grow too, is through the information, the feedback. Almost lost the word. Let's see here. Another one I have is, keeping it sacred would be having fresh breath. If you just ate some onions and some garlic, and then you're going into a session and you're in that close space, that's not comfortable. I most certainly would not want to be able to be sitting across from someone who has onion breath or who has garlic breath. Ugh. You know, this does include coffee too, by the way. I love coffee, but I will make sure that I have mints before I go into my session, because you're right there in front of somebody. So that's not sacred if you're ready to faint, because it's an unpleasant experience. Also, with keeping the space sacred, it's about you too, and the presentation. Are you clean? Is your clothing clean? Are you looking professional, right? So what professional will look different for each type of workshop session. But I'm going to encourage you to kind of take pride energetically and prepare yourself physically too for what you're about to, for the session. Something to think about as well. Again, everybody's a little quiet here in the online community. Again, if you have any questions under comments, feel free to comment there. Okay, so also what keeps the space sacred when working with others is having that conversation and setting that intention with the people that you're working with. So this can even be setting up the dynamic beforehand to let people know what to expect for the session. That's important as well, and that does help keep it sacred rather than going over all these extra details that maybe they didn't know beforehand, and then you may bring in a little bit of confusion and misunderstanding into the session, and that does not help keep it sacred as well. I would even encourage people to turn off their ringers. That's something too, that during, whether it's a private session, a healing, make sure that those phones are off, not just turning off your ringer, sorry. Turn off that phone, because say there's a meditation and somebody's phone is vibrating during the meditation and you're the facilitator. You're responsible for the experience of everybody there, and that's also with setting the space. So it's up to you to make sure that make sure these things are clearly communicated to those who are involved. And then afterwards, after the session, what I do then is I make sure that I cleanse and clear it after. I thank spirit. I might even sage again. I'll make sure I put everything back to where it needs to be. And I try to keep those environments, whether it's working with sessions with clients one-on-one or in a group setting. Try to, again, to make sure that not only physically it's clean, putting chairs away, paperwork, handouts, food, whatever it is, then I make sure that it's all clean, and I thank spirit for it and keep it sacred with that being said. Okay, so I gave you a few different things to think about with keeping things sacred and creating sacred space, not only for you, but for your clients as well. So this is the portion where I'm going to welcome any questions and or comments in regards to the topic, or if you have any psychic questions. We have about 10 more minutes left. And I'm going to give you a moment or two to write your questions in the online community. And for those who watch on YouTube, the online community is www.themysticalmoon.ning.com. So while some of you may be typing, so I am thinking about keeping it on a Wednesday, and I will keep everybody updated through the email, through the online community that I send out before the show before the show airs. Heather had a question. Can you repeat? Oh yes, the scent for opening the third eye, one of the best ones that I have found that works very effectively is frankincense. Frankincense. And that's something that I can definitely do a segment on. It has to do with aromatherapy, because oh my gosh, I use aromatherapy every day, and aromatherapy is so effective for all of us. And it's interesting how some fragrances trigger us in a good way, and some bring back memories, and for some of us it can overwhelm us. Just a lot going on there with them. But they cleanse, they clear, they raise our vibration, they bring in energy, they take away energy. They can have, some of them are wonderful for ingesting. Of course, you know I'm going to say, please research before you do any of that, before you ingest anything, whether it's a tea or an essential oil. Okay, let's see, what other, I'm going to think of if there are any combos too that I like to use with creating those sprays. And those sprays definitely they get the job done, and they're not overwhelming and or overpowering. So you kind of you could use the sprays in your car, you can use them in a room, you could use it on a person, you could spray your bedroom, your pillows, your sheets, and create that ambiance as well. Looks like everybody's doing kind of okay this morning. So I'm going to give another minute or two, and then I might move forward. So if you are watching this, and I encourage you to feel free to inbox me here in the online community if Wednesday, like the nights that would work. I am thinking Wednesday around 6:30 or 7 for about the hour. So Christina has a question. Would you put selenite dust in your paint for your whole bedroom or just your sacred area? I'm in the middle of remodeling my bedroom, making it bigger. Okay, so this is the thing I would say too. First of all, when you add the selenite, it does change the paint color, just so you know. Just so you know. I did paint I painted several rooms with selenite in them, and it did make it a little bit lighter. It added like a white tinge to the, made it a few shades lighter to the paint. I would probably use the selenite in both rooms, in your sacred space and my bedroom, because the selenite, it brings in the light, but and that light kind of it shines and kind of pushes out heavier, denser energy. So I would use the selenite wherever you could. Again, I would really play around with this just to look at the color. I mean, when I used it, I did use a lot, but it still changed the color a little bit, and it adds such a different ambiance. So people use selenite. I've seen people work really hard and they crushed up amethyst as well and put it in the paint. And before you paint, I would write some words on the walls before you paint too, with intention. How do you want that bedroom to feel? You could even add sacred geometries to the bedroom as well, right? You could put serenity, tranquility, peacefulness, zen, whatever words you feel describe the ambiance that you want to create in that room. And Heather says, great ideas, thank you. You're very welcome. And as I mentioned, not everybody is a practitioner, but in the spiritual sense, but then there are people who work in the real estate field and many other different fields, and it's something to think about changing the vibration. If you're a teacher, setting the space that the students be open and feel comfortable and secure in your learning environment, that's huge, right? And even if it's like the first day of school and they're smaller children, the little kids, that does help change the ambiance as well. Even having, say, like an amethyst in the room. I didn't even go into like the larger crystals. Like having an amethyst geode in a tower or geode in the room definitely will help anchor some of the different energies and help create that sacred environment. I mainly touched upon the ones to help filter out negativity or stress or denser energy. There are different ones that can help with group unity. You know, that everybody have a really lovely flowing experience there, and that the group be in alignment with each other. Because this is the truth of the matter, is that when you have a larger group, the more potential for some people not to be on the same wavelength. That does pop up. However, I will say, knock wood somewhere, that with larger groups, everybody pretty much has flowed beautifully. So that's been a blessing. And I do think part of that has to do with setting the space beforehand. Okay. Yes, you're welcome. And that's a good idea. You got it. And, you know, get creative. There are no wrong ways to create sacred space if the intention is to keep it sacred. I'm just touching a little bit upon what you can do to have that healthy, peaceful ambiance. And that is something that's so important to me when people come through the door and they say, it just feels so good in here. And I say, thank you, because that is what we're trying to create here. Thank you so much for that feedback. All right. So that is a goal that I do have. That's one of the main things that's very important, is that people come in here, they feel safe, they feel comfortable, they feel connected, they feel the vibe, the loving vibe, the nurturing type of ambiance that I want to create here. That is so important to me. And I know it's important to many of you. Say if you have a business, a different type of business, that's important as well. Your office, your desk, your phone, if you work a lot from home and you're on the phone, that you can change the vibration of that as well. All right. So I'm going to start wrapping it up here because I've got a couple little things to do. But I will keep everybody up to date with the possible change, and it might happen next week, but I will email all of you. And in the meantime, feel free to check out Ray's May astrological and spiritual insights video. And thank you all for tuning in so much, and I look forward to talking with you next week, which I think my topic is going to be on feng shui abundance tips. Hello, money. All right, just kidding. No, not really. But anyway, so next week will be feng shui tips for abundance. And I look forward to seeing you all then. Take care. This is Laurie Baracco. Namaste.